Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Shannon McCabe Show podcast. I'm super excited to chat with you guys today. As always excited, always love. Gosh, the DMs, you guys, every week I'm getting more and more messages from you guys, and it makes my heart so happy that you're even listening, that this is reaching so many people. You guys, I think last time I checked, we have listeners in 42 countries now, which is wild to me, just wild. And I can't thank you guys enough, but it gives me so much hope. Hope for me, hope for you guys, hope for all of us that are in this world, meaning this sober world, that at times can feel lonely and can feel isolating, right? And we can feel like we're swimming against the current, we're swimming upstream, we are isolated in this like booze obsessed culture. But I hope that the more you tune in here, the more you connect with me over on Instagram, the more you listen to this podcast and share this with other people in your life that might need it, you really come to realize and believe what I know to be true now, that so many people are joining this movement for so many reasons. It doesn't have to be a rock bottom. It doesn't have to be a problem. It can be just because you're learning the truth about alcohol and know how just truly horrible it is for your physical health, your mental health, all of it. Or maybe you are like me and you had a problem, or you do have a problem, and you're okay admitting that because you know that admitting it and being honest about it is the first and biggest step to feeling better, to getting free, to reclaiming like peace and joy and a life that is not ruled by alcohol. And that's what I want to talk about today. That's what we're going to dive into, because there has been a theme again in a lot of my conversations this week. This came up with a couple of my private clients. It comes up in the blueprint so often. It comes up in the DMs I have with you guys over on Instagram, trying to figure out whether or not there is hope for you, honestly, whether or not my program would be a fit for you. You're just trying to make sense of what feels like it's become a problem and you don't understand how this happened to you, right? So many of us are smart, capable women. We're successful in almost all other areas of our life. But then what I hear, and my heart like constricts every time I hear this, because I remember this feeling so vividly. I remember how awful it felt to be stuck in this place where you're asking yourself and your internal dialogue becomes just this constant onslaught of like, why do I keep doing this? Why does alcohol feel simultaneously like the only thing that maybe makes me feel better and gives me a little bit of relief, but then also this thing that makes me feel so terrible about myself, makes me feel physically and mentally really awful? And why do I feel like I don't have control over it? Why does it feel like sometimes I don't even know that I want to drink anymore, but I still find myself doing it? Like this habit at the end of the day, this habit every weekend has become to reach for a drink, to have many drinks, all the while kind of finally knowing and acknowledging like, I don't actually want to be doing this anymore because I know that it's causing me problems. But yet I find myself doing it. I'm going to the store and buying the bottle or buying many bottles. I'm opening the bottle of wine at 4 p.m. every day, even though I spent all day hating myself because of how I drank last night or drank this past weekend. So we get sucked in the cycle before we know it, kind of before we know it, we're in this place where it's like, why do I keep doing this to myself? But also, I don't know how to quit doing this to myself, because despite all my best intentions and despite my efforts and despite everything I tell myself all day, when 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock rolls around, I can't help but pour a drink. And it feels good, but then it also doesn't feel good. What is this? And you guys, I want you to know, first of all, this is so common. There are so many of you stuck in this cycle right now. And the reason you're stuck in the cycle is because alcohol is a really powerful drug, you guys. Alcohol is not the innocent, enjoy it, kick back and relax, have fun, the way all the commercials make it look. That is not the reality of alcohol. Everything I just described is the reality of alcohol. When we turn to it often enough, sooner or later, our drinking quits becoming a choice. And it becomes something that we need to do. And it becomes something that we find ourselves doing, even though we think we don't want to. We almost are on autopilot then. The habit is so ingrained that we do it because we don't know what else to do. We don't know how to resist that voice, that muscle memory, the habit of saying, it's 4 o'clock, pour a glass of wine. You deserve it. It's been a long day. You're happy. You're sad. You're overwhelmed. You're tired. You're relaxed. You're celebrating. You're grieving. Everything you're doing, pour a drink. When we do that often enough, when it is still a choice, when we decide to drink for any and all emotions and feelings and occasions, you guys, sooner or later, it quits becoming a choice. And not because we're weak or broken or something's wrong with us, but because it's chemistry, you guys. It's science. It is brain chemistry. This is what an addictive drug like alcohol does to your brain if you give it enough chances. And this is why talking about it is so important, because this is what we're not told. We're not told this by the TV shows and the movies that make drinking look all fun and no side effects. We're not told this, all the cutesy but so annoying mommy wine reels of like, oh, kids wine, so I wine. We're not told this by all the beer and wine and vodka commercials that make it look glamorous and sophisticated. They don't say, oh, and by the way, the more you do this, the more you're going to need to do this until you get to the point that you're left looking around at your life saying, how did I get here? How did I get to the point where this doesn't feel like a choice anymore? It feels like something I have to do. Even though I kind of hate it, I feel like I can't not do it. Okay? This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Kind of just dated myself with that. Does anybody else remember those commercials? God, is that the 80s or the 90s? I'm dating myself here, but that's okay. Because this is exactly what this is. That cycle of knowing that you kind of don't want to anymore, but it's autopilot, it's habit, that is your brain on drugs. That is how your brain chemistry has been hijacked by alcohol. So let's talk about it. I want to dive into it a little bit because this is a huge aha moment. This is a huge shift in understanding that can be a big step towards you breaking free and towards you finding the peace that you want. I know that's what it was for me. And that's why I'm so passionate about making sure that other people hear this information and understand it, because it's what helped me be like, okay, so this actually isn't my fault. It's my responsibility. If you guys have heard that saying, I'm totally blanking on the author right now. I want to say Laura McCowan, but I'm not positive. In her book said, you know, like when talking about developing a drinking problem, it's not our fault. It's not your fault, because alcohol is an addictive drug, but it is our responsibility. Once we realize we have a problem, it is our responsibility to do something about it. Listening to conversations like this one today and understanding this information is a huge step in doing something about it, because you're going to see that it's not your fault, but you're going to also see why the best thing to do is to just quit drinking, is to put in the work that it takes, deal with the discomfort in the beginning, so that down the road, you're just free. You can step out of this crazy cycle that alcohol keeps you trapped in, okay? Because when we think we are exercising our choice to drink, and we do that over a long enough period of time, or even a short amount of time, but we drink a lot, you guys, sooner or later, it quits becoming a choice. That is how alcohol alters our brain chemistry to the point where a choice becomes a need, and that need becomes I can't help myself. I don't know why I keep doing this, but I'm doing it, okay? What happens here? Let's get into the brain chemistry that I'm talking about. Really surface level, you guys. This is super easy to understand. Not going to drill you with a bunch of like technical stuff that you don't care about. But what you need to know is that when you drink, every time you choose to drink, you are rewiring your brain to need alcohol. You are training your brain to need alcohol to handle whatever situation you're feeling at that moment, okay? Because every time you drink, your brain releases a little bit of dopamine. Dopamine is that feel-good chemical. It's part of our brain's reward system. It's what makes us enjoy things. It's what makes us happy from whatever we're doing, whatever we're experiencing in a moment, okay? So when we drink and we get that dopamine hit, our brain remembers it. Our brain is like, yeah, this feels good. And this good feeling is associated with alcohol, because that's what we're doing right now in the moment. But the interesting thing about dopamine is we can only have so much. Our brain can only handle so much at a time. So when we drink on a regular basis and it causes this big surge, this big dump of dopamine, our brain has to protect itself from having too much dopamine. So what does it do? it naturally starts to reduce the amount of dopamine it produces on its own. And it then, after a while, actually makes us less sensitive to the cascade of effects that follow that dopamine dump, so that we don't deal with side effects of too much dopamine. So every time you take a drink to get that happy feeling, to get that buzz, to get that joy, to get that fun, to get that release, all of that triggers a dopamine release in your brain, to the point then where your brain is going to quit making its own dopamine. It's going to quit releasing that feel-good chemical on its own. And so then the only way you can experience that is from drinking. You let that go on long enough, that's how all of a sudden the only thing you want and need is alcohol. You can't relax at the end of the day by just cuddling with your cat or your dog or your kids or going for a walk or eating a good meal. You need that glass of wine. You need that vodka soda. You need that beer because you have trained your brain to need it. And you have trained your brain to rely on the dopamine fix that comes from that drink. So over time, then it becomes harder and harder for us to feel pleasure from the other things in our life that used to be enough, right? So this is anything and everything, you guys. It's sleep, it's connecting, it's movement, it's food, it's our favorite activities, it's everything. All of those things become less capable of bringing us joy, and alcohol becomes the only thing that can produce the feeling that we want. What if sobriety wasn't just about what you gave up, but about everything you're ready to step into now? I'm Shannon McCabe, and I created Elevate for women who are already alcohol-free and want to go deeper. This is a 12-month membership designed to help you rebuild your health, your habits, and your confidence from the inside out. So you're not just staying sober, you are thriving in your alcohol-free life. Inside Elevate, you'll get live coaching, daily support, wellness-focused self-guided tools, and resources to help you feel grounded, energized, and strong in your body, your mind, and your routines. Whether you're still navigating sugar cravings, low energy, emotional swings, or just feeling like something is still a little off, this is where we put the pieces together. One member recently told me, I knew I was better off since I quit, but Elevate helped me finally feel good in my sober life. I've never felt more clear or connected to who I am. And that is what this space is all about. If you're already sober, but craving real support and structure to help you feel your best physically and emotionally, check the show notes for all the details on Elevate. Let's build the life that you quit drinking for. Now, the kind of the double-edged sword to all of this, because of course, alcohol doesn't just affect one thing, right? It affects everything, really. It affects everything. But the next thing we're going to talk about, because the flip side of this coin, the double-edged sword, what happens here is alcohol is not just hijacking our dopamine, it's hijacking our serotonin too. Now, that's another one of these brain chemicals that you've probably heard of, okay? Serotonin is what helps balance our moods. It's what helps bring peace. It's what helps bring relaxation. It's what helps us regulate our emotions. Okay. So initially, when we take a drink, or maybe, years ago before drinking became a problem, however long ago that was for you, alcohol, boosts serotonin just a little bit. And that is part of what feels good. And that's part of what makes us go back, right? But then, of course, because alcohol is a toxic chemical, it is a drug. So any good feeling we get from it, first of all, is not real. And second of all, doesn't last very long and comes with a list of side effects. So what happens then in terms of serotonin is long-term, alcohol actually depletes our natural serotonin. Very similar to what it does to dopamine. When we have alcohol in our system frequently enough and long-term enough, it depletes our own serotonin levels. And so over time, this is what contributes to anxiety. This is what makes our anxiety worse. This is what makes our depression worse. This is what makes us so emotionally unstable. And you guys, this being emotionally unstable because of our drinking could be a whole nother podcast episode, and it probably will someday, because if you've been here from the beginning, meaning the beginning of my Instagram journey, I posted about this a lot when I first started posting, when I first quit drinking, because I could not believe how quickly within the first couple months, I felt so much more emotionally stable compared to how I had felt for years. I'm a special needs mom, you guys. If you're new here, if you're new to my world, I have 3 daughters. My middle daughter, Dylan, who's almost 18 at the time of this recording, has Down syndrome, autism. She's nonverbal, very high needs. She's in diapers 24/7. My husband and I have to take turns sleeping with her at night to get her to sleep through the night. Like, she can't be left alone. She still needs the care and the attention of a toddler, basically, okay? Dylan was my reason for drinking for a long time. She was my excuse. And in the years leading up to me finally quitting drinking, we'll say the last 5 years of my drinking, I was incredibly emotionally reactive, is the way I would put it. And I wholeheartedly believed that this was just because of the stress in my life. I believed it was because I'm a special needs mom. I'm also a homeschool mom. I've also always worked from home. I thought all of these things were the reasons why I often felt so angry and so frustrated. And when I got overwhelmed, I would cry. Like, I mean, to the point, you guys, like, it was not a super uncommon occurrence, meaning maybe once or twice a month, always after drinking, I would find myself like sitting on my kitchen floor bawling at like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. And I believed that this was just like a healthy release. I believed that it was just me processing all of the emotions of my super hard, stressful life. But then an interesting thing happened. Once I quit drinking, maybe 2 months sober, 3 months sober, I can't remember, but it dawned on me one morning. I was like, holy cow, I have not had one of those episodes since I quit drinking. There has not been this moment of uncontrollable bawling my eyes out, like ugly cry, right? Where like puffy eyes, snot dripping, heaving, uncontrollable crying. I hadn't had one of those since I quit drinking. And like I said, they had become like a staple of my life. Once or twice a month that happened. A daily staple of my life was angry, short-tempered, short fuse, impatient, overwhelmed. I commonly use the word suffocating. I felt like so much of my life suffocated me. I very clearly, within a couple months of quitting drinking, could see how emotionally unstable I was when I was a drinker. And for the first time in like a decade, I could see so clearly how that was all because of alcohol. Because so much of it resolved itself once I quit drinking and then found healthier methods of dealing with my feelings, right? It's not like the stress of Dylan has gone away. Nothing in my life has changed except for me quitting drinking. But I wouldn't use any of those words to describe me anymore. I'm rarely like angry or manic or over emotional. Overwhelm is fleeting because getting sober has allowed me to build other tools. So I know how to manage my emotions. I know how to take care of myself physically and mentally. So I don't exist in that like emotional roller coaster place that for so long I really just believed was my personality. I really just believed that it was the fate that I just had to deal with for the rest of my life because of being a special needs mom. And now I know that it's because I was drinking or recovering from drinking basically 24/7. So you guys, we cannot discount the way that what alcohol does to our dopamine and our serotonin, especially, how that completely messes with your emotions, even when you're not drinking. Because alcohol stays in our system for days, you guys. So even if you only drink on the weekends, you are really never truly clear from it. You are never giving your brain a chance to fully recover and fully function the way it's supposed to, because it is constantly dealing with the effects or after effects of alcohol, okay? And this is because over time, even if you only drink on weekends, but especially if you're like me and your drinking is becoming an almost everyday occurrence, even if that's only a glass at night, you guys, it is going to cause your brain to stop producing the normal healthy amounts of these neurotransmitters, this dopamine and serotonin that we're talking about, but so many other things. And so you are less and less able to relax, to feel even, let alone feel good, to connect, to enjoy a healthy escape, because you have completely outsourced your emotional regulation to alcohol. And every time you do it, every time you rely on alcohol to help you feel a certain way, whether it's to feel happy, to feel sad, to feel relaxed, to numb, to escape, to connect, you are taking away your brain's ability to do that on its own. And so this over time is how we lose the choice to drink. The decision to drink doesn't feel conscious anymore. It becomes a reflex because we have trained our brain to make it a reflex. And you guys, I hear this all the time. This was me. I hear it all the time. Women come into my world and drinking has become such a habit. It's become something where they're like, it's almost at this point that it for the most part exists independent of being enjoyable anymore. It's just something that has to happen because it's been happening long enough that it's just autopilot, because it is. You have trained your brain to want and need this like that. So you guys, this is how the decision to drink doesn't actually even feel like a conscious choice anymore. It's just something we do because it's something we have done for so long or long enough that our brain has made this like ironclad association that alcohol is needed to achieve these emotions, to even just deal with these emotions, right? So then we're caught in this catch-22 where our brain has been trained and wants to operate from this system of alcohol is the only way to regulate emotions. Alcohol is the only way to restore balance, even though alcohol is what's causing that imbalance in the first place, right? Like we feel low, we feel unable to connect, we feel bored, we feel restless, we feel like we can't even just feel anything without having a drink. So obviously it's the alcohol that's causing that in the first place, but now it's also the alcohol is the only thing that can fix it and make it better, right? Like you understand, a lot of you, I'm assuming, are probably maybe shaking your head and being like, oh my God, yeah, yes, that is exactly it. And I was stuck in that for such a long time. And I know so many of you are probably stuck in that place right now. And so I want to tell you again what I said in the beginning. Like, you are not weak because you are stuck in this. And this is not a lack of willpower. That's another thing. If you guys have been around at all, you've heard me say that, like, a lot of times when it comes to quitting drinking, willpower has almost nothing to do with it. It certainly can, but relying on it is setting you up for failure. Because when you don't understand what alcohol has done to your brain, it's hard to sit through the discomfort that does happen when we put a hard stop to the cycle and when we quit drinking. But that's the only way to break the cycle, is to literally physically break the association between all of these emotional regulation processes and alcohol. And when we do that, when we make that break, it's a little uncomfortable at first. For some people, it's really uncomfortable. For other people, it's a lot less uncomfortable. You're never going to know what that level of discomfort is for you until you just do it. The only way through that part of the quitting process is to go through it. But this is the thing, you guys, and this is where I'm always going to be brutally honest with you, because it really is what's best for you. The longer that you put this off, meaning quitting drinking, the longer you avoid quitting drinking, the longer that you now willingly keep stepping into this cycle, because now you know. I've explained it to you. You understand what's happening. The longer you keep drinking, the harder it's going to be to break this cycle. The harder it's going to be, the more discomfort it's going to cause you when you finally do decide to quit. So that's where then that's the choice. That's what you've got to ask yourself, is how much worse do you want to let this get? How much more of your actual emotional intelligence and actual emotional regulation, feeling your life, how much more of that are you going to give away to alcohol and let alcohol hijack it, turn you into a person that is not actually you? Because that, all of that stress, all of that overwhelm, the fear, the anxiety, the depression, the anger, whatever it is, the more you drink, the more all of the those emotions become the alcohol. They're not you. They're not the real you. You can figure out how to work through those things. You can figure out how to manage them, how to deal with them, but not as long as alcohol is in the picture. Because you're not in control then. Your brain's not even in control. Alcohol's in control. So I hope that that really lands on your heart, and not in a scary way, you guys. I want these conversations to be the thing that hopefully cause like some things to click and shift in your brain. And maybe even do cause some cracks to open up in your heart, where then the hope can start to come in. And you can start to think like, okay, wow, I wish I had known that this is what alcohol does, because maybe I wouldn't have turned to it so much. I don't know if that lands for any of you guys, but I remember feeling that so much when I first started learning all of this stuff. And first really quit, meaning really quit with support, with education, with accountability, all of that in the fall of 22. When I started learning all of this stuff, I was like, my God, if I had known this years ago, if I had known this when Dylan was born, if I had known this when parenting got really, really hard, I don't think I would have turned to alcohol as much as I did. I bought all of the mommy needs wine hook, line, and sinker because I believed it was as innocent and innocuous as society makes it out to be. But you guys, that is simply not the truth. And that is why I want to have these conversations, because I want you to understand you can step out of this cycle at any time. And I promise that for as scary and overwhelming as that feels to think about quitting drinking, it can reward you that much more too, right? However big your fear feels, the reward, the peace, the freedom, the joy, everything that you're going to be making space for by letting go of alcohol is going to be that big too. Like, it is going to outweigh the fear if you just do it. Okay. So the step, what's before you now, you guys, is just making the decision to step away from alcohol long enough to let your brain actually recalibrate, let your brain heal, let your brain remember and relearn how to emotionally regulate itself and help you get through your life without relying on an actual drug, because alcohol is a drug. I'll always remind you guys of that. Alcohol is a drug, okay? And yes, it's uncomfortable at first, but it's only uncomfortable because you haven't done it without booze for a long time. It's not uncomfortable because it's wrong, and it's not uncomfortable because you're weak or not capable. It's just uncomfortable because it's new again. It's new. A lot of us have not done much of our adult life without alcohol. So it feels weird. Okay, I get it. It does. It feels weird at first, but it's absolutely possible. And the more we do it, the easier it becomes. The more you find yourself coming back to yourself, remembering how strong you are, how capable you are, how resilient you are, remembering what you enjoy, what you love, how you like to relax, what you can connect with people over. That's not alcohol, okay? So I want to leave you guys with this today. The reminder, the little like piece of like truth that I just want to place on your heart for you to think about is that when you drink, alcohol is not just taking the edge off, you guys. It is quite literally dulling the entire emotional range of how you experience your life, okay? The good news though is that you can reverse all of that and you can get it back. All of the joy and the peace and the freedom and the confidence and the clarity, all of that, it's still there. It's still inside of you and it's still around you. You just need to get alcohol out of the way. Okay. You deserve to remember how good life can feel when alcohol is not telling you otherwise. When alcohol is not literally hijacking your brain chemistry and making you believe things about yourself and about the world that are not true. So you guys, I would love to hear how this lands for you. Send me a DM over on Instagram. I love those. Drop me an email if you need to. Links, ways to connect with me are in the show notes. I would just love to know, what does this bring up for you? And if you're ready, if this helped something shift and you're like, okay, enough is enough. I'm deciding I'm ready. Because remember, you guys, ready rarely is actually a feeling. It's a decision. We decide when enough is enough, and we decide when we're ready. If you are ready to finally get alcohol out of the way, I would love to get to know you and walk you through exactly what helped me go from drinking, almost 2 bottles a night by the end of my journey, to quitting without feeling deprived, without feeling miserable, to actually be excited to be a non-drinker. We do all of this inside the blueprint, you guys. Every day I see women go from being like me, which was, hiding wine in a coffee mug in the kitchen, to being happy and confidently alcohol-free in as little as a month. There's no reason that can't be you, okay? So come find me, hang out, click the link, let me know how this landed for you, and I'll be back next week with another talk. So thanks for tuning in, you guys.